All right, the time is now 6 p.m. Our regular city council meeting for July 1st, 2025 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Brown will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Good evening. Almighty God, as we prepare to celebrate our Independence Day on the 4th of July, we give you thanks for the blessings of freedom and independence that we so enjoy in our USA. We remember with gratitude the sacrifices of those who came before us to secure these liberties. We pray for your continued guidance and protection over our nation. May we always strive to live in accordance with your will, seeking justice, peace, and unity for all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. All right, first on the agenda, we have employee introductions. EMS.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight I have 6 new employees I'd like to introduce to you, all part-time paramedics with the EMS department. First up, Sam Albimona. He grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, moved to San Antonio in 2022. He obtained his paramedic certification through TEACS in 2017 and is currently enrolled at St. Philip's College, working on a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. He's been in EMS for about 15 years, and he's married with 4 kids, and we'd like to welcome Sam to the EMS department.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Welcome to our team.
Next up for you, I have Blaine Leachman. He grew up in Cibolo and currently lives on the northeast side of San Antonio. He does plan on moving back to Cibolo sometime soon. He attended Northeast Lakeview for pre-nursing and biology, attended the National EMS Academy for his paramedic certification, and he's been working in EMS for about 7 years. He's been a paramedic for about 1.5 years. Blaine is married to his wife Elizabeth, and he enjoys training for half marathons, playing video games, and spending time with his family. So welcome to Blaine.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys so much.
Welcome to our team.
Third up for you, I have Samantha Blackwell. She was born and raised in San Antonio and currently lives in Converse. She attended TEACS and the National EMS Academy to obtain her paramedic certification. She's been in EMS since 2021. Samantha is married with 6 kids. Her husband is an Army vet, and she loves spending time with family and watching football. So welcome, Samantha.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm super excited to serve the city of Schertz.
Glad to have you aboard.
Next up for you, I have Mike McInnes. He's originally from San Antonio, currently lives in Cibolo. He obtained his paramedic certification through the University of Texas Health and Science Center. He attended American Public University for additional collegiate studies. He's been in EMS for about 17 years now, and he's married with 4 kids. He's retired out of the Army and enjoys fishing, hunting, and dirt bike racing. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Council, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve the city.
Welcome to our team.
Next for you, I have Chris Fierro. He is originally from El Paso and currently lives in Valverde. He attended the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio for his paramedic certification and has been in EMS for about 3 years. Chris is currently a full-time firefighter and paramedic for the city of Converse and wanted more experience, so he came to Schertz for part-time work. So welcome, Chris.
Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to our team, Chris. One question, Chris. We're in El Paso. What part?
I was from Central. I went to Burgess High School.
Oh, we got 2 BLR guys here. All right.
Oh, fantastic.
They're going to love you or hate you. And last but not least, I have Sebastian Gonzalez Flores. He moved around a lot as a child and spent some time in Peru, Florida, California, Montana, and Texas before he finally settled down here in New Braunfels. Sebastian attended Associates in Emergency Care to obtain his paramedic certification. He's been involved with EMS for about 5 years, 3.5 years as an EMT, and the last 1.5 years as a paramedic. He is a U.S. Navy vet where he served as a hospital corpsman. So welcome to Sebastian.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being part of our team. Thank you for taking care of our community and our city. Appreciate you joining this team. Thanks.
Thank you, Council.
Next, we have Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, everyone. Today I have the opportunity to introduce Johnny Ruiz. He's been the Civic Center coordinator for just about a month now. His background consists of 10 years of event coordination and operations in venues including the Frost Bank Center, Tobin Center, and the Pearl Brewery in San Antonio. He is born and raised here in San Antonio, and we're really glad to have him on the team.
Good evening, council members. I just want to say, since my first day of orientation and settling in with my phenomenal team at the Civic Center and the Parks Department to meeting some of the wonderful residents of your community, the welcome I have received has been nothing short of amazing. I look forward to a long tenure with my new Schertz family, and I thank you for the opportunity to help serve the community of your beautiful city. I appreciate your time and attention tonight, council members, and please have a safe and wonderful evening. Thank you all so much.
Johnny, I just want to say thank you for helping us with Project Flagline.
Absolutely. It's an
Appreciate
honor.
it.
Thank you.
Welcome to our team.
Thank you.
Next, we have Police.
Mayor and Council, thank you for having us. I got two to introduce to y'all for tonight. First, I have Dash Harris. He comes from us, from Alabama, but he's moved all around the U.S. He served 10 years as an EMT and decided to go into law enforcement. He just finished in the academy. He has a girlfriend and two awesome brothers, and he enjoys movies, concerts, and college football. Next, we have AJ Deepandaka. I'm sorry, I'm not even going to pronounce your first name. It's Allure. Allure, okay. Allure Deepandaka. He actually comes from us from Converse PD, where he actually just received Officer of the Year. And he has 6 life-saving awards under his belt, so we're very glad to have him. He's a veteran of the Army, and he's born and raised in the San Antonio area, so he's very familiar with Schertz as well. He's married, has 3 kids, and he enjoys fishing and weights. So we're very proud to have both of them. So if y'all want to say anything?
Just good evening, and thank you very much.
Good evening, and I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Well, welcome to our team, gentlemen. And next, we have Police Department from the Public Safety Communications.
Hello, good evening. Tonight I have Marshall Johnson. He was hired on June 2nd to be one of our newest communications officers. He was born in Corpus Christi and graduated from Moody High School. He grew up working various jobs, working movie theater to abatement in the refinery. He joined the Navy in 1990 for 4 years, and he served on 2 aircraft carriers and visited multiple countries during his time served. After his Navy time, he began his career in law enforcement, starting out at the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, worked at a couple different police departments, and ended up at Los Angeles County, where he retired in March of 2021. During his law enforcement career, he worked as a jailer, a canine officer, FTO, firearms instructor, and numerous other positions he was assigned. Marshall met his wife while stationed in San Diego, and they've been married for 32 years. They have 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters, 4 grandsons, and 1 English bulldog. When Marshall retired, they moved to Schertz and are fortunate to have all of their children living in Texas with them. He loves the ocean and anything to do with the ocean, including fishing, sailing, and cruising. He and his wife try to take at least 1 cruise a year. Marshall also enjoys riding motorcycles, concerts, and traveling with his family, and he really likes to spend his free time spoiling his grandkids.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to become part of the Schertz family.
Well, welcome to Texas and welcome to our team.
Thank you.
Next, we have utility billing.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. On behalf of the utility billing staff, we'd like to introduce Ms. Miranda Chavez. She was born in Plainview, Texas, grew up in San Antonio, and now lives in Universal City. She loves spending time with her family of her fiance, her son, and their dog, Daisy. She does enjoy self-care days and playing softball in her free time. She also enjoys traveling and, of course, the best thing of all, shopping. She did start with the utility billing department on May 19th of this year.
Good evening, Council. My name is Miranda. I can tell just from the short time that I've been here, it's been great. I love working here. I have a great teacher, great coworkers, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for me.
Welcome to our team. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation of the 2025 4th of July Jubilee. Bessie, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. All right, good evening. So 4th of July Jubilee is this week, in case you've missed the billboard and all the social media posts and things. So we started it off Monday morning bright and early at 7:30 with Project Flagline. So we put up all the flags down Schertz Parkway. There's 11 different sections that we have volunteers come out for, and we will also still take volunteers for takedown, which will be Monday, July 7th at 7:30 a.m. as well. Marketing, so billboard is up on 35. We'll stay up on 35 through this week and come down next week. We've sent out media advisories and then obviously been posting on the website, social media, magazine articles, email blasts, and all the businesses and residents in Aviation Heights also received, should have received a mail kind of breakdown of the parade route and like detours and things like that, so that if their homes are affected by the road closures, they know how they can get out from Aviation Heights. On the 4th of July, we'll kick off our morning with a Freedom 5K, which will stage in by the Civic Center and then come out the Hal Baldwin Municipal Complex and turn onto Schertz Parkway. That does follow the parade route, and then as soon as they have passed the parade route, the parade will begin. Staging for that is in Clemens parking lot, and we'll come down Schertz Parkway to Main Street, and then 1518, and then return to staging will be along Arrow. So here is the Jubilee parade route for those who are more visual. So you can see the official parade route starts at El Bell Road and comes down Schertz Parkway, turns onto Main Street, 1518, and then Arrow is not technically part of the parade route. It is just the return to staging, so not all entries will come back that way. We have the carnival again this year, so that will open at 11 a.m. and it's located at Thulmeyer Park, so just right across the street from Pickerel Park. And then our Jubilee evening portion will kick off at 6 p.m. We have live music with Gunpowder Soup. Our food trucks are open. We've got 16 different food trucks and drink trucks. Our family zone, float and fireworks, which is sold out. We do not sell tickets at the door for that one. There is capacity at the pool, obviously. And all of this will be located in Pickerel Park. And we'll conclude with the fireworks, which I believe is on the next one. So 7 p.m. we have the mayor and council welcome, and then 9:13 is when we will start the Star Spangled Banner, followed by around 9:15. As soon as they hit that last note of the Star Spangled Banner, the fireworks show will go off. Any comments or questions?
Thank you. All right, council, floor is open for discussion or questions.
Great. Hope to see you all there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for, to all the staff for putting this together. And like you said, we started off on Monday. Yeah. And it's a beautiful sight, 3 miles of the parkway with 6,000 flags. Yep. It does make an impression. Thank you.
Looks great. Thanks.
Yes, Councilmember Guerrero. Yes.
Yeah, I do have a question. You mentioned that on Monday is the teardown? Mm-hmm. What time?
7:30 a.m.
7:30 a.m.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next, we have the Tamio Awards.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Devin Christensen, the Interim Public Affairs Director, and I'm here with Tatum Hearn, our Marketing and Communications Specialist. So I'm here to present on this year's TAMIA Awards, which is the Texas Association of Municipal Information Officers. So I recently attended the conference this year. And we won one award for our internal communications for our city orientation video. And we won the Award of Excellence, which is second place. And just a little bit about that project. So it was developed as a collaboration between HR and Public Affairs to kind of enhance our orientation for new employees. And the plan is to refresh it every few years just to keep it current with current staff and different programs that HR is putting on. So some of our goals of the video, we want to provide new employees with a positive and welcoming introduction to the city. So we have features from Mr. Steve Williams, kind of talking about the city, and then we showcase our city's culture. So kind of events that HR is putting on for new employees, and then we also just wanted to enhance that orientation process to give them more an idea of what it's like working for the city and give them a warm welcome. So I'm excited to win that award for that project. So all we have.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the award. Just being second place, I mean, it shows the impact that we have had, and in this case, to our new employees. And I want to say thank you. With that, Council, floor is open for discussion. See no questions, no comments. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next is city announcements and events, announcements of upcoming events. Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the first thing on here is Cassie went over earlier, just all the festivities that we have this Friday on July 4th. Hope to see everybody out there for that. City offices will be closed on Friday, July 4th as well. We have on Saturday, July 12th, the Nature Discovery Series at Crescent Bend Nature Park. This is from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. And then also that day, in the evening, we're gonna have the music and movies in the park. It'll be a float and flick. The movie is Finding Nemo, and that starts at 7 p.m. And then our next regularly scheduled council meeting will be back here July 15th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
All right, announcements and recognitions by our Assistant City Manager, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mayor. A few to recognize a few city staff people. So Joni Johnson in the library this past month was promoted from library assistant to library technician. Earlier tonight, we recognized Dash Harris, who was promoted from police cadet to police officer. And then finally, Matthew Muro was promoted from registered HVAC tech to a certified HVAC tech as well. So congrats to all of them.
Thank you, Mr. James. All right, announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I do have two announcements. First of all, Project Flagline. What a strong display of patriotism, and I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers that helped us put that together. It took less than an hour to put 6,000 flags, 6 miles of road. Thanks so much. It looks beautiful, and I couldn't say the impact it has in our community, and it kicks off our 4th of July Jubilee, so thank you to the volunteers. Also, I'd like to mention to the council that there is a workshop scheduled for July 15th at 5 o'clock. If you can mark your calendars for that workshop, it's concerning council's budget. All right, so we'll move on. Next on the agenda is the hearing of residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the city council. You are limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. We also have 3 public hearings. You do have a choice. You can speak at the hearing of residents, you can hold off until the public hearing, or you can speak at both. The option is yours. Mayor Pro Tem, please call our first speaker.
Ms. Rebecca Robles.
Well, hi. Hello, Mayor. Hello, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Rebecca Robles. I live at 513 Pecan. I am a resident of Schertz since 2007. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse for 32 years, a practitioner for almost 10, and I am also a United States Air Force Reserve veteran. I'm coming today because y'all did make a decision to change to Frontier Waste, and that's great. I think it's great to go to something mechanical, especially for the men who do this job, to reduce those on-the-job injuries. But taking out the trash, it's dangerous. I know it sounds crazy, but it really is. As a healthcare professional, claims are put in, millions of claims on a daily, for injuries such as strains, back sprains, shoulder injuries, hernias, and that is from simply taking out the trash. The average household here in Schertz has 2.8 people. One person creates about 4 pounds of trash per day. That doesn't equate to a 95-gallon can. That can, if you did not know these dimensions, stands 4 feet tall, and it weighs empty 49 pounds. That is a lot of weight. And you say, well, it's got wheels and you can push it. Yes, but if we look at ergonomically, safety, I should be able to push something and my elbow should be at 90 degrees. I stand 5'1". That can is up here when I push it. So I'm at higher risk for injury, which then would increase healthcare costs. The second leading cause of death in this country from a preventable injury is a fall. We have a large senior community, lots of veterans, and not all healthcare limitations are visible. I personally just had abdominal surgery. I can't push that can. I can't clean it. I can't lift it and turn it to sanitize and clean it like I did my 32 can. I think the decision that you made, while yes, it was great, I think one thing we're missing was that option for people to choose, something that would benefit them. There is benefit to choosing a smaller can. A smaller can reduces waste. We reduce tonnage in that whole RRR, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. And so I think it would benefit us if we could have that option. I've called Frontier, they don't. But if we can get the council to try to push them to give some options to the community so that we can be safer, healthier, less injury, drive healthcare costs down, and hopefully do a little bit saving of the environment and saving costs for the city, I think I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
I have Dana Giggy. Is that correct? All righty.
Good evening. My name is Dana Giggy, and I live at 3825 Overlook Drive, which is a 55-plus community in Schertz. And I just wanted to talk trash. We've made this change, and myself, as well as many of my neighbors, have made the decision to no longer recycle. And the reason for this is because now we have to have 2 huge trash barrels either in our garage because we don't want them sitting outside because the yellow lids, oh my gosh, I think you can see them from the International Space Station. I've lived here 6 years. I've never had a trash can. I don't generate much waste. You know, my little kitchen one, on trash day, I carry it out and put it at the curb. It takes me 2 to 3 weeks to fill up with that little bitty recycle bin. And so now you're telling me I have to have these 2 huge, huge bins. I quit recycling last week, and I still haven't filled up my little kitchen trash can in a week, and I'm putting all my recycling in there. If there's some options, I know my sister just moved to San Marcos, and they called and they have options for smaller ones so that they're not so heavy. We have a lot of elderly people that cannot push them out to the curb, can't pull them. I just had one of our residents was in the hospital for 2 weeks because he was trying to do his trash and it got away from him and he tried to chase it and fell and ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. So I don't know whether there's some options for some smaller ones or what there is that can be done, but I really hate not recycling, but I just can't see having those 2 huge trash cans in my garage. And then when it's time, I have to back my car out of the garage, put my trash cans out, pull my car back in the garage. Then when it's time to put them away, reverse it. And we're trying to keep our community and our neighborhood looking good, so we don't want trash cans sitting out in front of the garages, don't want them sitting on the side of the house, especially with the yellow lids. So anything you could do would be appreciated. Thank you.
I have Michelle Treleski.
Michelle Terlesky, 705 Maryland Drive, in Schertz, of course. I'm going to talk trash, but it's going to be a different kind of trash. I have a ditch behind me, okay? And it's a lovely ditch from time to time. However, that ditch is now higher with weeds and grass than my easement. So I'm requesting code enforcement to come out and write up the owner of that ditch, who happens to be a personal friend to all of you up there, so that I don't have any more mosquitoes or weeds in my yard, or worry about snakes or possums or raccoons. I love the deer are gone, but I would appreciate somebody looking after that ditch and mowing. Thank you.
Mark Tudurk, is that correctly or close? Okay.
My name is Mark Tudyk, and I live at 18940 Old Wiederstein Road. And I'm going to speak regarding item number 8 under public hearings, ordinance 25S027. And that's the proposed rezoning of a piece of land along Old Wiederstein Road. And that particular piece of property has been part of 2 previous proposals to rezone it, both of which have failed. And the reason for it to, and while this rezoning proposal is part of a different project, the reasons to vote it down are the same. There is no infrastructure in the area to support the type of community that's intending to be built there. Old Wiederstein Road does not provide direct access to a major highway. The surrounding community, the residents, have no support, no interest in this. And there is no method in place to ensure that the type of housing that's built there is going to be established for the intended use of a senior living. Okay, thank you.
That is all, Mayor.
Right, thank you. Right, we'll move on. Consent agenda items are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, minutes. Item number 2, appointments, reappointments, or resignations of City of Schertz boards, commissions, and committees. Item number 3, resolution number 25R072. And item number 4, resolution number 25R084. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate action? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Watson. Council, any comments? If none, cast your vote, please. If we can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We'll move on to a discussion item. Item number 5, resolution number 25R080, authorizing the application to FEMA for staffing adequate fire and emergency response grant program. Chief, Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Mr. James, thank you for having me. And I come before you this evening to ask you for authorization for City Manager Steve Williams to submit on behalf of the City of Schertz to FEMA for a SAFER grant, which is staffing for adequate fire and emergency response personnel. It's a grant that comes around generally every year. Since the program has been implemented, they've done approximately $22.5 million a year across the United States. This year specifically, they broke it into two pieces due to the DOGE portion of it. So now we're open to this end of the year, and we wanted to be part of that opportunity. So just a quick summary on what the program is. As I said, it's to FEMA, so it's administered by them as part of the Department of Homeland Security. It's designed to provide funding to communities much like us because the impact is significant financially and an opportunity to grow that over time rather than to incur the cost right up front. And the goal obviously is a safer local fire department ability, but it's in conjunction with meeting NFPA standard 1710, which is about the staffing of fire apparatus adequately with the right number of personnel. So from our perspective, where we are it's a 3-year program. Each year is a percentage that we would pay and a percentage that the federal government would pay for us as well. So as you see, I will use it. It's the same amount every year as far as total, so it's $659,882. We would be responsible $164,970, and $494,911 would be from the federal government. We would pay that part up front. They would reimburse us for that after the fact. But the last year is where it's a little bit different. As I said, we would pick up 65% and they would pick up 35%. All told for the grant, basically the 3 years would equate to what we pay would equate to 1 year each time. So it's quite a savings, and overall, as you can see in the bottom, the federal portion is about $1.22 million that we would be relieved of spending. So the application period is due on July 3rd. We would get that process done. They would review through August, and then the award notification wouldn't come till sometime September, October. So ultimately, we would be in the next fiscal year altogether. Questions and comments?
Thank you, Chief. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, how was the six positions determined?
So when we open a fire station, we staff that apparatus with 4 personnel across 3 shifts. So that's a total of 12 that we need to hire. We've hired 6. We would like to get the last 6 through the grant to relieve the city of some fiscal.
Good deal. All right, so they'll be staffed across all 3 shifts. What about the, so what's, I guess maybe not for you, but maybe for Brian, after the 3-year period, it's just going to be absorbed through our general fund?
Right, and I think, and the chief can explain this, I think the way we view this is we're opening the fire station, we're going to hire these firefighters regardless. Yep. And without a grant, the city would pick up the entire cost of those firefighters. We might hire a bit later because we're having to pick up the full cost. So I think the way city staff use this is as a benefit. It's someone else to help subsidize the cost of hiring these firefighters that we need to do either way. Lets us hire them in a timely manner so they can get up to speed, be trained, cover that. So we think it's really a win-win. It covers something we would have to bear the cost of either way, and obviously long-term we'll bear the cost of.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I would
sir.
add, the great part of if we do get the grant is we can hire the 6. We will be full at 17 per shift and could go ahead and put the ladder truck in service full time while we're waiting for the fire truck to be completed.
So the 17 per shift is significant because of the NFPA 1710?
It allows us to have 4 per fire truck, yep, which falls in line with NFPA 1710.
17, yep. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Guerrero.
Yeah, I have one question, Chief. We're paying 25% the first year, 25% the second year, and then the third year, like you were saying, it goes up to 65. Is there a particular reason why that occurred, or?
Well, I know that we weren't, it comes out and they tell us what the percentage is. Years ago, it was approximately 20, 20, and 20. Then last year before last, it was 10, 10, and 10, so we would have only incurred 10%.
Gotcha.
After Doge again came out, they changed the percentages to 25, 25, and 65. It is, looking at the number of submissions, I feel that it's fair to say it kind of pushed some people away. I'm not really sure why, but the number of submissions after reopening is very low. It's approximately 1,000 as of yesterday, whereas they're normally in between 6,000 and 7,000 a year.
Yes. Thank you, Chief.
You bet. My pleasure.
Council, any other comments? Chief, I think it's a great opportunity for this grant. As you said, we're building a whole new fire station. Now we got to man it. And it costs money to build, and it costs money to staff it. And this is a great way to try to budget the management, because at the end, after 3 years, it's all ours.
Yes, sir.
We have to pay for it all. But it does help our city and other cities that are growing, where the expense is very high at the beginning. And I think this is a great opportunity. Councilmember Watson, you have questions?
I wanted to motion that we approve Resolution 25R080.
I'll second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Watson and second by Councilmember Brown. Council, any other comments? Please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objection. Motion passes.
Thank you, council. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Chief. Right, we'll move on. Item number 6, resolution number 25R070, approving the Guadalupe Appraisal District real estate acquisition and renovations of 216 East College Street, Seguin, Texas.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you all today to bring to your attention a project that we've been discussing through myself and our board members for the last 12, 14 months, dealing with the operational strain we've reached with our current facility. The facility itself was originally built in '84, added on in 2008 to a total of about 8,800 square feet. In the 17 years since that addition, we've reached the point where, we've exhausted all of our functional space in this facility, and we were looking for remedies to address that as we expect the growth that we've seen over the last 17 to continue into the future. So we decided to put together a 20-year strategic plan on meeting the needs as an appraisal district for the clients, you all, the governing bodies that we serve. So here we go. So this all culminated with the resolution passed by my board of directors after, again, about 14 months of review and due diligence and discussions. This allowed us, because the tax code is very specific on appraisal districts who want to either renovate their existing or purchase new and acquire property. We have to get 3/4 approval from our governing bodies of the entities we serve that are eligible to vote for appointment to our board of directors. Currently, we have 33, but 28 are actually eligible for that vote status. So therefore, we need 21 of our entities to approve through resolution. With the board's passage of a resolution back on May 7th, it allowed me to begin these presentations to the governing bodies. We do obviously a lot more than just appraisal. Obviously, everybody understands they get our notice of appraisal in the springtime, but it's very much a taxpayer resource type organization. We manage all eligible tax exemptions from ad valorem taxation. We also maintain the appraisal roll for ownership for the purpose of understanding exactly who's responsible for those levies. Constant changing of our maps. But the main thing that really brought the attention to my board, myself, who brought it to the board back last year, was the fact that we're averaging over 24,000 appeals annually for the last 3 years. We have roughly about 75 to 80 days a year to get through those appeals, so that way we can certify timely to our entities. And it was becoming, well to do so, so we had to start looking at remedies. So obviously everybody understands, we've reached in the last 14 years or so, 17 years, we've reached about 200,000 in this county. You'll see the aerial on the left. That was when 2008, right after they added that structure in the back, apologies. And to the right, the only thing that's changed obviously is we have a parking lot to make it a bit safer for the taxpayers as they come in to visit. Obviously, these are the facility challenges we have. This is our lobby during last year, during the appeal season, when people are timely submitting their appeals. You can see, obviously, it's very crowded in there. It gets to the point where our ADA visitors, obviously, maneuverability in there can be difficult. The parking lot that we told you about, obviously, there's one ingress-egress point that can get very dangerous during high periods of traffic, especially with 123 business now picking up. Some quick photos here of our interior of currently our workstations. Inadequate restrooms in the sense that we have 4 individual occupancy restrooms to supply 40 full-time employees, as well as any of the members of the public that are there for business that day. Workstation, we've got over 200 devices now at this point. One individual taking care of that in a very small room with the servers and things of that nature. Undersized mailroom, I say, is because we try to, obviously, taxpayer funds, we try to save as much as we can. Anything under 1,000 units, we'll do in-house mailing just to save the cost with the vendor, but we don't have much room in there to do so. The insufficient break room aspect is when the board members, the ARB, Appraisal Review Board, are in session, they'll use our break room because we only have one. Any ex parte communications between my staff and them is a Class C misdemeanor, so a lot of times my staff choose, just to be safe, they'll eat in their cars during lunchtime out in the parking lot. Restricted walkways, of course. We repurposed all the spaces as we grew. We repurposed supervisor offices into dual occupancy. These are closets, storage closets that we turned into workstations. Out in the hallways, large areas, we put some workstations as needed. Conference rooms, we try to have organizational-wide instruction, training. It can be very, again, crowded in this one small little area. We did lose, which was a benefit of the 2008 renovation, we lost the benefit of a public research room because we had to repurpose that into our second ARB panel so that way we can meet the challenges of the time of getting through certification. Looking ahead, obviously, this triangle, everybody knows population studies. This is an area that's going to continue as forecasted by many, and we're right along that bottom line there. I believe we will definitely be impacted by all that. The expectation for our county is getting up close to 300,000 in this 20-year period that we're looking at. So we put together a plan from 2025 to 2045 to try to address these operational needs, as well as provide, hopefully, some flexibility to the individuals that are in our position at that time. So we looked at facility spacing, which is the primary discussion here tonight. Obviously, we're looking at different technologies, staffing needs, public services, as well as training. One aspect that the facility has taken from us is the opportunity to do in-face informals, where individuals will come in, sit down with us. Hopefully, we resolve it before we actually send it to the Appraisal Review Board. That saves taxpayer time as well as their funds as well. One of the things, we have a lot of new IT, right? Everybody's got a lot of new IT. We have some great IT tools for the public, but if they don't understand it, if they don't trust it, they're not going to use it. So what I'd like to do with the potential of this new facility is have a dedicated training room that we can bring the public in on a quarterly basis, maybe train them on exactly all these new IT tools that we're going to be incorporating over this next 20-year period. So that way they'll feel comfortable enough to use it. Our resolve rate used to be around in the high 80s for the informals. We've actually tanked a bit down to about 72, 73, and that causes more time. It causes more funding to be spent because of that. I think that's because, again, we can't bring the public in for those in-face informals that we can with this remedy that we're providing to you today. As a Tier 1 appraisal district, much like any metro area, we're under the same compliance requirements of the state as Bexar County or Tarrant or Travis, any Dallas area, as well as Houston. So we were looking at these 4 areas. Again, my main priority is the taxpayer remedies. We can handle most of the stuff up top there. I want to make sure that our taxpayers are able to come in and have a quality opportunity to come in, sit down with one of my appraisal staff, and hopefully resolve their appeal, their concerns for that particular year before we obviously provide them with the formal review and then, of course, afterwards, the binding arbitration. So our proposal that came about is purchasing an old 1914 building, the old Mary B. Erskine School, previously owned by the Seguin ISD until 2022 when a developer purchased it in a blind auction. Initially, 1914, I've kind of said this, I didn't want to get anything anywhere near that, with his age and all the aspects, the challenges of a building of that age. But did take a look at it. A lot of the retrofitting by the ISD was done before their sale in 22, so it made it a viable option to bring to my board for consideration. We did decide that this was going to be the best option moving forward on a number of criteria. This is an image of the exterior of the building. The lot itself is a full 4-acre tract in the city of Seguin, in the downtown. I believe it's in the historic district or right on it. We entered in, once my board decided in December to move forward with this particular plan, we entered in some agreements with the architectures professionals to kind of give us some conceptual designs to present to you all today for consideration. Here, obviously, we're looking to add a parking lot to the left there, but the main aspect of this renovation purchase proposal is the main 3-story structure initially. There is a gymnasium and a cafeteria attached that can be used for community needs, that we can do some public outreach once it's available, once it's ready for use. But let's see here. Here's the bottom floor, just to kind of highlight some of the areas of what we think we can use once it's been renovated. There's that training room on the left I was telling you about. The ARB will have their own break room, so we don't have to worry about my staff eating outdoors coming in. We can also have, which is going to be very key, I believe, in this next 20 years, is up to 4 ARB panel rooms where we can have the staff or the public come in, have a moment, a 15-minute meeting with my appraisal staff, hopefully resolve it. But if not, then you can go straight to the board because we have that availability at that time. Again, keeps them from having to come back 2 weeks later or at another time, which can be frustrating. So you get it all done in one day would be great, and it helps our timeline for making sure that we hit that required July 25th certification date. Main level would be the public level. We can recapture that public resource room that we lost, as well as we'll have some self-service kiosks in the main area to the right there to hopefully, again, bring the public to some of these options that they have available to them, rather than the traditional waiting in line and whatnot. Top level will be primarily for the majority of the appraisal staff, as well as some admin staff. Not much going on, but it provides us enough room for the current 40 staff members, as well as some of the increases that we may have over this next 20-year period. My thought would be, obviously, my vision is, as you get towards the end of this 15, 20-year period, and we've had some staff come on because of the demand, if we need to move the A or B to that gymnasium, we can cut that gymnasium up perfect, move the operations over there. We can backfill that bottom level with whatever taxpayer needs we have at that particular time. We are expecting over this period somewhere between the 30 and 50%. That's really going to depend on the timeline of the growth that we're projecting. I broke it down into 5-year periods, and I was thinking somewhere between 2 and 3 during each 5-year period, if that demand is there for it. Projections for annual protests are going to be up to about 40,000 by the end of 2045. That's based off of projections of weighted average holding still to the public and number of accounts. New law, everybody has the right to an informal conference. That came in about two sessions ago. So that requires us to make sure that everybody has that 15, 20-minute meeting with staff before they then go to a 15, 20-minute meeting with the ARB. Again, more time that we need to make sure we can facilitate to get you all your timely resolution, tax levies. So here we go. This is a probable cost from the architect and engineers that did the review for us. The site acquisition, we currently have it just south of 1.9. Probable cost of renovation is 8.4 for a grand total of about 10.3. This essentially increases everybody's operating costs or funding of our operating costs by about 16.3% based off of each respective of their levies. It was based off a 20-year term. Again, we can't issue bonds or levy a tax. We're funded, our entire budget is funded by the entities that we serve based off of an allocation. First payment wouldn't be due or funding requirement wouldn't be due until tax year 2027. So 2026 isn't a consideration. We wouldn't have to begin it at that time if it's approved. The city of Schertz, I've kind of broken it down a little bit for y'all based off of projections, obviously. You guys currently have a 5.5% allocation annually for our budget operations. So it would be an additional funding of about $49,000 over this 20-year period. some cost mitigation projections. Obviously, this is what made this option, again, viable, is the fact we can sell our current asset and then put all those proceeds towards paying down the note. Any annual unspent budget funds, the state requires us send it back to our taxing units. We don't get to keep it. We could, though, put it towards, dedicate it towards, again, paying down the principal on this note. Conservatively speaking, I think we, can look at 3 to 4 years off the back end of this note. Here are the alternate options. What isn't included on this, obviously, is some acquisition of land. Essentially, it came to about 5.6 total value. But again, there wasn't a thorough review like we did after we decided on which one to go with. But the option that we're presenting to you today, net-wise, was a better option for us because it also met a lot of the criteria that we were looking for. We were looking for scalable, something that can meet the demands, 10 years, or the challenges that may pop up that this site wouldn't do or this option wouldn't do, as well as you have a predictable cost, obviously, by doing the option that we presented today. You don't have to worry about inflation. We could do this one. I've looked at it. Projections, obviously, we'd be back here, with the operational strain aspect hitting us somewhere around that 15-year mark that whoever's in my position is going to have to start looking at how do we remedy that, right? You're going to have to add more, so you're going to have to buy more land behind it, come back when inflationary has taken place. And it's actually, when you compare it to the current option that we're presenting, it'd be an additional $3.7 million in taxpayer funds if we go with one of the alternate options. Again, big reason why my board went ahead and decided to pass this resolution, that this was the option that we at least wanted to bring to you all for consideration, and ideally we get approval. Final thoughts, obviously, 4 areas of public service agencies, I think, or culture obviously is one huge. We got a great culture. Ms. Osborne, my predecessor, really started as a taxpayer-oriented office. I've maintained that. I benefited from that. With the staff there, we've done great on our annual oversight from the state, whether it be the property value study or methods and procedures on how we come up with these values. Executive team, the leadership aspect of a good agency, we've got 22 years overall average between the 3 of us, so we have the confidence of our staff. We have the continuity between understanding exactly what's required. We've got a great supportive board. Last year they provided, at my request, they said, yes, let's do this. Let's get a compensation study done for your staff to make sure that we're competitive, right? We're looking into the future. It came back, we were slightly low, so they implemented, at my request, I gave them a step and grade compensation system, all new job descriptions and everything else. Presented to them in December that they went ahead and passed. So that's actually implemented over the next 2 years because we couldn't do it all in 1 year, so we broke it up into 2 years. And then finally, my thought is if we can, obviously get the facility, this particular option satisfies, again, I think in perpetuity for the appraisal district. As long as you guys require an appraisal district, there's going to be no need to relocate. Anything that they do need to meet demand-wise can be done at that current site at that time. That's really all I had, y'all.
Right. Thank you. Council, floor is open for discussion. Seeing no discussion, is there a motion to approve resolution number 25R070?
Mayor, I meant to hit the
Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, you had questions?
Yes. When you did your budget and the budget that's there, is that including any cost overrun?
This particular project, yes, there's a great deal, but that was one of the concerns an individual I spoke with last week from Seguin was having, is they always say, public agencies, they say it's going to be one number, and then when it's all said and done, it's bloviated. Here in that, I kind of went through with them and kind of showed them that the actual renovation cost, is 4.7, but all the contingencies on top of that for stuff that may come up that is unforeseen is included. So I really believe we're at the top end, and I'm confident that we're going to be below that. But that was a concern, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other, it's not more of a question, but a statement. Originally, when I saw this, I was thinking a really old building. But then I thought about, I'm in a process with another entity in looking for a building, and we're looking at something in a historical place because we started thinking about what value do we add in that area to keep it going where there's no blight and the misuse of a building. So a little hesitant on the cost, and making sure that, as the board I'm sure did, make sure that they were looking at the taxpayer dollars because we are using those and making sure that we're doing the right thing for the right reason.
And that was, speaking to that benefit, the board mentioned that as well, as the fact that, the developer currently was looking to change, he actually changed the zoning from public to commercial, so he's going to be able to develop it however he wants. A lot of the local community, it was a 9-to-5 type operation in the school, so it's going to get to go back to that. This was one of the intangible benefits of choosing this option for the community.
Councilmember Guerrero.
Oh, so you had mentioned that you guys have 48 employees, is that correct?
41, sir.
41? Yes. And then you said you wanted to increase it?
When the time would come, my projections with when you look at the total, there's a industry standard, IAAO is the International Assessing Office. They have actual templates on exactly how many accounts you want per person, so that way you're not overstraining, the staff. And that's kind of what I projected it on, was as we can increase our property count, maintaining that potential level or that benchmark that they have of how many accounts per appraiser, how many accounts per admin staff member.
So within threshold?
Yes, sir.
You have everything monitoring?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. No further questions.
Council, any other comments? Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 25R070.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Davis. Council, any other comments? Please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes.
I thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
All right, we'll move on to our first public hearing. Item number 7, ordinance number 25S026. Conduct a public hearing and consider amendments to Part 3 of the Schertz Code of Ordinance, Unified Development Code, UDC, to Article 8, Section 21.8.9, outdoor display and storage. Ms. Marcus, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. James. Ordinance 25S26, a proposed amendment to UDC Article 8, Section 21.8.9, outdoor display and outdoor storage, Daisy Marquez, planner. So why are we here today? Staff is proposing amendments to Article 8, outdoor display and outdoor storage, to create new categories of outdoor display and outdoor storage, amend the definitions that are in place, clarify the general requirements, and expand exceptions. So what does it look like today? Currently, it has 2 different categories of outdoor display and temporary outdoor storage and general outdoor storage. If you were a business owner coming in, this can look very confusing, and you would say to yourself, how do I differentiate between both? And you can see that the zonings that this is allowed in is pretty limited. What we're proposing today is to categorize it into 2 categories only, outdoor display or outdoor storage. It's either one of those 2. And you can see that we also included MSMU zoning within this permitted zoning list, just because we don't want to limit them to what we're allowing other people to do. And then we are still not allowing outdoor storage in general business district, but we are allowing it with an approved SUB in public use district, just because public use does allow other types of zoning other than, schools, but also municipal uses as well. So we want to make sure that you also have the opportunity to have a say in that. We are also moving all of the general requirements for outdoor display and outdoor storage to the top of the ordinance, just to make sure it's clear, everyone knows what the expectations are for all display and outdoor storage items. So again, just making it clear that it needs to be paved and painted to distinguish them from parking areas, just to make sure it's 2 very separate areas and it's very clearly known. But also, if any changes are made, like the outdoor storage areas are expanded, it has to come in for an amended site plan, just so we can control that, and we can also make sure that things are growing in a proper manner. Also making it clear that it cannot be located within required landscape buffers. I know this, for example, when non-residential uses to residential uses are adjacent to each other, make sure that buffering that is required is protected. So when it comes to outdoor display, we are proposing to expand the definition just to make it more clear that, again, this is items actively for sale or lease that can be perused by the public, just clarifying that intent that staff means when we mean outdoor display. Making sure it doesn't exceed 15 feet in height, that if they are stacked, it does not exceed 5 feet in height, and the display area does not exceed 25% of the primary building square footage. And then for outdoor storage, expanding on that definition again, it contains the same items that it had before. So think of shipping containers, temporary portable storage facilities. But then it also expanded on it to include things like wholesale business, landscape materials, unpackaged dirt. And then it has the same requirements as before, so that maximum 20 feet in height. But after P&Z, we did add a clarification that heavy equipment was an exemption from the 20 feet in height just due to the nature of the material or of the equipment. So think of a ladder or a crane. We're not going to say, okay, a crane is 100 feet in height, you can't have that. Naturally, that's just the nature of the equipment. And then again, the same requirements, it has to be enclosed and at the rear of the structure, so no changes in that. And then we are expanding in the exceptions with the changing business environment. We really don't want to limit people that are trying to propose garden centers, lumberyards, and outdoor sales areas. As the city is growing, we're having new businesses being proposed to us that are old UDC inherently prohibited. So we wanted to make sure we are adapting with the times and including those businesses. And then sidewalk sales were also added to the exemption to not be considered outdoor display or outdoor storage. And that was also a reason for adding MSMU to that. So if we get more boutiques and more businesses down Main Street with all the new changes, then maybe we can activate that and we can have some sidewalk sales. So again, when staff looks at UDC amendments, we look towards section 2147D for the criteria of approval. So one, the proposed amendment promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city. So section 2189 was last updated during the pandemic to include a specific section for material shortages during the pandemic. But before that, it had not been revised since its implementation in 2010. So it has gotten outdated, and we have gotten into some problems with businesses coming in and having meetings with us. Two, the proposed amendment is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the UDC. So staff is trying to be proactive with all the new businesses that are coming in. We're trying to keep up with the changing retail and commercial environments. And commercial businesses have come in and shown a desire for outdoor display, but due to the nature of our Unified Development Code, we have had to tell them that it's inherently prohibited just because the way it's written. And also, MSMU was not in place during the implementation of the UDC section, so now it's able to be added in, and they're able to take advantage of this. Three, the proposed amendment corrects an error, meets the challenge of changing conditions, or is in response to changes in state law. So again, we're clarifying outdoor display and outdoor storage definitions to make it clear for people. This has been a confusion when people have come in asking, well, I think I'm display, well, I'm storage, and having to explain to them the actual intent. Well, now it's laid out in the UDC. And also the expansion of exceptions. Four, whether other factors are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the amendment. So staff has ensured the UDC amendment meets the UDC requirements. And after the Planning and Zoning Commission, they requested an exemption to the height restriction from heavy equipment. Again, they didn't want to inherently prohibit something due to the nature of equipment. So that was added as shown. So staff recommends approval of ordinance 25S26, and the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing for the item and made a recommendation of approval with amendments as shown to you to City Council with a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez. All right, this item is on the agenda as an open public hearing. The time is 7:04. If you'd like to address the council regarding this subject, you are limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council for the record, please state your name and address. So the mic is available for this public hearing. Anybody want to address the public hearing? Going once, going twice. All right, public hearing is closed at 7:04. Council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, so MU, Main Street mixed use?
Yes, sir,
All
correct.
right, good deal. Examples of that, and did I miss, can you give me an example? How does that differentiate or vary from Mercantile 1 or Mercantile 2 or M1 or M2 occupancy classification?
Brian, can you help me with that?
So I can probably offer that, having been part of the history, and Sam can come up if need be. But one of the challenges we found on Main Street, working with the Main Street Committee, is that a lot of those structures were built a long time ago. They were maybe built as residences. They want to convert to businesses. Most of our commercial zoning districts really have in mind greenfield development. It's a vacant piece of land. Somebody comes in and builds a building on it for a commercial use. So what we did is we created the Main Street mixed use to allow that redevelopment to happen more easily and happen in a way that makes more sense for the older part of town, right? And so that's really the difference. It allows a range of personal service, retail, restaurant type uses, but the development standards are modified to blend better with the character of the neighborhood. So we created our own separate district, and thus, as Daisy said, we needed to add how we handle outdoor display to that district.
All right, that's what I was looking for. It's modified development for the older buildings that were already in place.
Yep.
What about for the definition for the height for the equipment, heavy equipment? That's just, how's that defined, heavy equipment? I know the planning and zoning asked for an exemption, but what are we just saying? It's as long as it's mechanical and it's used for construction?
Yeah, I mean, that's generally what it is, right? It's construction equipment, it's equipment with a crane, it's things like that. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily on wheels. One example we tossed around was the liquefied natural gas equipment at the GE facility that's now Amazon.
Okay.
It's big equipment to liquefy natural gas. It stands, I don't know, 25, 30 feet tall, whatever it was. It inherently had height to it. And so again, I think from our other definitions of uses and sales of heavy equipment and service and things like that, I doubt we'll have a lot of confusion about what complies with that. But essentially, as Daisy said, it's a crane, it's something like that that's too tall.
All right. Thank you, Daisy.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, just to clarify for me, when you're talking about the garden centers, lumber yards, outdoor display and storage, it says it must be enclosed utilizing a metal or steel fence material such as wrought iron with masonry columns. Chain link fence is not permitted. I mean, when I look at Lowe's and Home Depot and whatnot, their whole side is chain link fence. So we're going to require all of that area to be a wrought iron fence material.
Yes, sir, correct.
It's very costly. And I know nobody cares about Lowe's, but what if a smaller company came in? You're going to make them all, and obviously it just seems like it's an excessive thing. I like the idea of having a nicer look, don't get me wrong, but there's a mix between keeping it nice and practicality as well.
I think, Councilman, staff would say that's a pure policy standpoint, right? And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's a balance between cost and it's a balance between the aesthetic of it. Staff's initial proposal was to go with the wrought iron tubular steel look. That tends to be a bit more common now. But you're right, for some folks it would mean a higher cost associated.
And I can certainly see that for a 6 or 8 foot fence around even a relatively large area. But for the amount of space that, for example, Lowe's, Home Depot, things like that, when you look at that garden center, and that's 25, 30 feet tall of chain link, you're going to make them go back to a wrought iron fence?
Yeah, so I think the assumption really was to make them, and let me just be clear, when we say wrought iron,
and I understand that's an example,
right.
but still.
But yeah, I think that's the expectation. Again, when we've looked at what is being done more commonly now with particularly the big box Lowe's and Home Depot, you will see the stone or masonry columns and you'll see the tubular steel. That's not an uncommon thing for them to do.
But that would be an exterior decorative component to their security of the chain link thing. So that you could have, for example, I'm just going to use Lowe's because it's here, it's big, it's obvious. All right. They would build that enclosure and use chain link for the security and whatnot, and then they can put an exterior cosmetic component to it?
They could. Now, I will say this, and I'm certainly not an expert, and someone can correct me, but one of the things, as we all know from remembering when we were kids, is you got handholds, you got footholds with chain link, right? And again, if you're not doing barbed wire or something on top of that, as opposed to you've got the wrought iron, the tubular steel, you typically have a bar running horizontally toward the bottom and then up at the top, but it's free in between. So you're having, it's a little bit, as I remember, a little bit more of a challenge to get over the wrought iron than it was the chain link that was a little more scalable. So I don't know that this is something that we've had in conversations with big box folks who may have applications in with the city have balked at going forward, I don't believe. In fact, we have an item on for P&Z tomorrow night with regard to signage variance request, and I don't believe that they've batted an eye at the new requirement. In fact, part of how we came about this is talking to those folks. But again, pure policy, and we certainly would appreciate and respect council's guidance on this one.
Like I said, if it can be done and if it's acceptable, that's fine. I have nothing against, nice aesthetics. I agree 100%. But I also think that there should be some kind of a balance in there so that it still hits the cost effectiveness as well.
Before I recognize the next council member, for clarity, would you say that Lowe's is not in compliance if this is passed?
So Lowe's is grandfathered, to be clear.
Well,
Lowe's
no,
is
I
here,
understand they're grandfathered, but if there was would they be in compliance based on this?
I don't know that we've necessarily run the specific numbers on Lowe's, Council. We could certainly, if you wanted to table it, we could come back with that with you. Again, we kind of looked at what Lowe's is doing, kind of looked at what our Lowe's has a little bit, but we didn't run specifically the code to say, would they comply with what we proposed if they built that same store today as opposed to a store that they're typically building these days?
Yeah, because Councilmember Brown brought an interesting point there. They do have a 15 or 20-foot high fence.
And you can look at Murdoch's across the street. I can see that absolutely fitting the new requirements because it's maybe an 8-foot fence and 80 by 80 or something like that, 100 feet by 100 feet. It's a good sized storage area, but it's not huge, and I could certainly want that type of a storage area that's out there on the frontage road to look good.
Yeah, and Daisy, can you go back to the garden center and just maybe clarify the requirements for the garden center, which we created as a carve-out versus the outdoor display?
So a garden center will have different specs.
So it's the garden center that's got the requirement for the wrought iron around it.
Well, it also says lumber yards, outdoor sales areas.
Yes, no, understood. And so let me be clear, I guess, and I apologize for this. So as Daisy kind of mentioned, we've got two categories in our code and two categories we're making clear, which is the outdoor storage and the outdoor display. And we've got ordinance requirements for the criteria of those. One of the things as staff worked to craft this that created a problem as we came up with, all right, what does that look like, is what do we do with garden centers? It wasn't really kind of what we had in mind, but then as we started thinking about it, and I'm looking for nods from Sam and Emily to make sure I'm on the right track, thank you, and Daisy, is how does a garden center fit to that? So that was something we came back and added, and we basically looked at what are people doing with those garden centers, lumber yards, outdoor sales areas, and frankly, typically we looked at the big box, what they're doing. And so that was crafted specifically for them, and so the garden center exception has different criteria than typical outdoor display would going forward. So for example, to contrast with the Murdochs, a garden center, lumberyard, outdoor sales area that's not considered outdoor display or outdoor storage has to be attached to and accessible through the primary building, right? So if you think about going into Lowe's, you go down to the side, you go through the doorway, you're in the garden center. You go down to the other end, you're out in the lumber area, right? That's different than Murdoch's that's out front in the parking lot. So it wouldn't fit. But just to be clear, staff, I don't know, we've named the user that's on the case tomorrow night? Yes. So just to be clear then, to be blunt, we have Home Depot with a proposed site plan in, they're getting a signage variance, and they would comply with this as we've proposed, and frankly haven't balked at it. If you kind of look at what they're doing today, the Home Depot you went to 30 years ago looks different than a Home Depot and a Lowe's they're building today, and frankly the wrought iron isn't something that when we had these conversations, based on feedback from council at the zoning, we want it to look nice. I think we had more pushback on some of the column spacing and things like that than we really did the wrought iron. Is that accurate? Can I get some nods out there to make sure I'm not misspeaking? So again, we'd certainly appreciate council's guidance on this. That part of it is not something we've gotten any real pushback on.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Guerrero.
Yes, when you were giving your presentation, you were mentioning something about when you got together or meetings with the business owners, that there were some issues or?
Yes,
what
so
are some of the?
essentially we do offer free pre-development meetings so people can come in and meet with staff, planning, fire, and engineering before they purchase a property or if they're interested in coming to the city of Schertz. And we can discuss with them our site design requirements. So a lot of times people would come in and they would say, this is the nature of my business. I do this, this, and this. How does this fit within your city, or what would be my specific requirements to fit within your city design guidelines? And a lot of times they would say, okay, I want to have some sort of, display area. So think, again, Home Depot, Lowe's that we have now, where they need to have some sort of storage outside. We would have to tell them, unfortunately, it doesn't really fit with the way our UDC is now, so inherently we were prohibiting them by accident just because our UDC didn't spell it out and there was no way to really interpret it within our code. So with this code amendment, they're able to be within the city of Schertz, and more businesses that have these type of uses can come in now and there's guidelines for them.
How many businesses do you think were bringing this up?
Just from my time here, and I've been here about 2 years now, I've had about 3 meetings where we've had to tell people that it's not in our code.
Thank you.
Council, any other comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 25S-026?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilmember Davis and second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Council, any other comments? Please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 yeas, no objections. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, ordinance number 25S-027. Conduct a public hearing and consider a request to rezone approximately 19 acres of land from single-family residential/agricultural district R-A to middle-density residential district R5, known as Guadalupe County Property Identification Number 68302 and 68303, also known as 19018 Old Wiederstein Road, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. Mr. Haas, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Mr. James. This is ordinance 25S-027, Samuel Haas, Senior Planner. So just to get our bearings here, as the mayor mentioned, this is approximately 19 acres. We have Old Wiederstein just right here to the south of the property outlined in green. This is Belmont Park over here, this subdivision, and this is the back side of Freeway Manor. The applicant is proposing to rezone to middle density R5. In the letter of intent, the applicant submitted that it would be a senior style housing, although I should mention that there's nothing that we can hold them to that, so R5 does accommodate up to 12 units per acre. The zoning district allows for either attached or detached residential dwelling units. And this particular site with the R5 zoning designation, they would have to adhere to all multifamily site design requirements in Article 9. On May 23rd, 2025, a total of 19 public hearing notices were sent out. We've received 4 in opposition and 4 in favor. 1 sign was also additionally posted on the property. And here's a zoning exhibit provided by our GIS department. You can see the property here going from single-family residential RA to middle-density residential R5. Just a refresher on some of the design requirements of R5. You'll see that the area requirement is a minimum for lot sizes to be a quarter acre. That's that 10,890 number. No width and depth requirement similar to RA. And then front, side, and rear is 25, 10, 10 for the setbacks. And then it has a maximum impervious coverage of 80%. So when evaluating zone change requests, we look at UDC section 2154D criteria for approval. Number 1, whether the proposed zone change implements the policies of the adopted comprehensive land plan or any other applicable adopted plans. The comprehensive plan designates this area as mixed use, which is intended for a mixture of residential, commercial, and also entertainment. There are specific call-outs in the comp plan for multifamily residential in this particular land use designation. Number 2, whether the proposed zone change promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city. So as a part of promoting the health, safety, and general welfare, we like to encourage development that is compatible with surrounding uses. So in the immediate area, you'll see single-family subdivision, multifamily housing being constructed, and then also restaurants and retail. Here's just a little aerial of that. We have Schertz Station that is currently under construction. This photo is actually a little out of date. All this multifamily right here is under construction. There's also a lot of pad sites under construction as well. So there's restaurant and retail in the area, there's multifamily in the area, and there's some other residential in the area as well, so it is compatible. Additionally, a preliminary traffic impact analysis was conducted, and our city engineer proposed that the increase in traffic would be considered negligible. Number 3, whether the uses permitted by the proposed zone change will be consistent and appropriate with the existing uses in the immediate area. So again, the immediate area being open space, rural residences, a mixed-use development, and Schertz Station. You'll see that the uses permitted by right, a lot of residences, multifamily dwellings, parks, playground. It is compatible with what's currently in the area. And number 4, whether other factors are deemed relevant and important in consideration of the amendment. So Schertz Fire, EMS, Police have been notified of the zone change request, have provided no objections. Also, SCUC ISD has been notified of the zone change request, and this scheduled public hearing provides an opportunity to introduce any additional considerations. Staff is recommending approval of 25S027 due to the proposed zone change aligns with the comprehensive plan and also is consistent with the surrounding land uses. And the City of Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on June 4th, 2025, and made a recommendation of approval with a 6-1 vote. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. On the objection of the 6-1 vote, any idea why?
Yes, let me see. Do you remember Brown was the nay vote on that, the Commissioner Brown, and I don't recall, I wasn't there at that one.
You didn't note the objection? Okay, thank you.
Don't recall, I don't think any reason was provided.
All right. Before I open the public hearing, is the developer here for a presentation?
Thank you, Council. Patrick Christensen, 315 East Commerce, San Antonio. I'm here with the Thomas Group Development Team. It's always difficult to follow your staff. They go through such a detailed explanation of everything we're trying to do, but I will let Thomas Group Development speak first, then we have the engineer that will address some of probably the traffic questions you may have. One thing I would like to outline, this is not a tax credit project or anything like that. This will be market rate apartments for rent for seniors. Age restricted is allowed under the Fair Housing Act. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Thomas of Thomas Group Development. This button right here. This is my dad and I. We're a family business. Dad started this company 30 years ago. I grew up sweeping out houses and picking up trash on the site. Grew up in the business, and there's nothing else I would want to do or, frankly, that I'm good at. So here I am. We built over 800 homes for retirees. It's all we know how to do. It's all we're good at, and it's what we want to keep doing. And we see that there is a massive need within the city of Schertz for 55-plus communities. New Braunfels has done a great job at building housing for the 55-plus home buyer and home renter. Bernie has done really well too, but there's just a lack out here in the city of Schertz, and we would love to be able to provide that. This is a rendering of what we would plan on building here. The goal here is to design something that allows the occupant to age in place. There is no stairs involved in this. There are lever door handles. Most of our units are ADA compliant or ADA light, so there's an ability there to where if somebody moves in when they're 55, they can stay there for however long they would wish to. There's a fenced-in area for pets, walking trails, great amenitization that allows people to really feel like this is a home and not just some suburban neighborhood with tract housing. And this was an interesting point that I heard earlier about the trash being delivered. All of our stuff is exterior maintenance is provided. That includes valet trash. So there is no lugging a 90-pound trash can anywhere. It allows you to essentially just live and lock and leave if you wish, or if you wish to stay there indefinitely. It's designed with that in mind. I don't know, most of these are other renderings.
Oh, okay. You want to come up and I'll show you some more slides of just some of the renderings.
Center,
yeah, that's be the amenity center.
And there's an older product that we've done. This is what it looks like. This is an attached product as well. We plan on doing a similar green space in the center of this as well. This is barbecue pits, a clubhouse, things like that. Allows people to really build a sense of community.
Hi, Chris Krim, HMT Engineering, 260 South Cassell, New Braunfels, Texas. Understanding that traffic is always one of the major concerns when it comes to rezoning in the community. We had worked with staff to develop this preliminary traffic impact analysis, comparing what the existing zoning would allow, which would result roughly in the 35 peak hour trips, and what is being proposed by the Thomas Group, which results in 36 peak hour trips, so one peak hour trip more. Kind of put that in perspective, the 100 peak hour trip is kind of the what's defined by the city as being significant or not, so anything lower than that's typically deemed so insignificant it doesn't require reports or anything. That's pretty industry standard. Big reason for that, right? Senior living is probably the best use you could have when it comes to traffic. When you are retired, you don't have children, you're not dropping your kids off during school. You're not going to go leave your house at 8 o'clock, or you're not coming off work. You know, some of the 55 might still be working, but generally speaking, they're just, you don't have to be on the roads at that age. And so that when it comes to traffic and that concern, typically when it comes to these type of communities, it's the best that you can think of when it comes to what it produces to your streets. So I'm here for any questions. Oh yes, and you just wanted to mention that there are 2 thoroughfares that this is adjacent to. As part of the plating, we will be dedicating right-of-way that the city will have. And so along the western property line here, there's also a thoroughfare that the city has that would be dedicated and built as part of this development. So.
One other point, I heard it earlier, there was concern we're going to tie into 35. We're not doing that. We're planning on going into Rips Chrysler here to alleviate traffic. Plus, the road is designed for the volume, even if there's very little here that we are adding.
And so Council, we're happy to answer any questions you may have. One thing I'd like to add is the gentleman who spoke earlier said, there's been rezonings of this property 2 times previously. Well, those rezonings were larger tracts of land. This is a much smaller. We're not going as far northwest as those projects did, and those projects were also normal multifamily apartments for all ages, and we're much larger with much more units. That's why tonight you don't have a room full of people here in opposition, because it's a much smaller project. I think most people would like to have some senior housing in the city of Schertz. Thank you. And like I said, happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. All right, this item is on the agenda. It's an open public hearing, and the start time is 7:30. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the council in reference to this subject? And before you address the council, please state your name and address.
My name is Dana Eldridge, 2628 Gallant Fox Drive, Schertz, Texas. I live in Belmont Park subdivision. Those look pretty nice, and I don't really know that I have a real objection to them. My real problem is we did a Band-Aid fix on Old Wiederstein Road not too long ago. You couldn't tell it driving over it now. With the stuff going on 35, there are mornings where I have traffic going behind my house because my house backs up on Old Wiederstein. Sometimes for an hour or more, solid traffic. Can't get out of Belmont Park because 35 is all blocked up and Old Wiederstein's all blocked up. Construction on 1103 doesn't help. Construction on Green Valley doesn't help. Makes it real tough. I've heard a lot of talk about no traffic involved here. It's not going to be a problem with the traffic. May not be a problem with the traffic, it's a problem with Old Wiederstein Road that we can't get fixed. I've been out there 20 years. Old Wiederstein has been, well, it's not been easy to drive on. If you go try to drive on it now, you got spots where it's like, ooh. So unless we get Old Wiederstein fixed, whether there's traffic or not, with this little subdivision, we're not doing the right thing. I know this is probably going in one ear and out the other, but something needs to be done out there before you start allowing more buildings to be built, more houses to be built, until you can get Old Wiederstein fixed and get it accessible to everybody.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council?
My name is Mark Tudyk. I live at 18940 Old Wiederstein Road. I spoke earlier, and I would just like to continue and reiterate my point that this development is not practical at this time, and there's no supporting infrastructure for it. And Old Wiederstein Road may be in need of a lot of improvement, but there are utilities on both sides of Old Wiederstein Road from multiple companies. And the best you can do is maybe resurface it and smooth it out maybe, but that's it. And adding more, and it's always going to be, oh, that's not going to be a lot of traffic or whatever. You won't know until you do it. So this is a mistake that's just best solved by not making it. So I'm once again expressing my opposition to this rezoning. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Going once, going twice. Right, public hearing is closed at 7:34. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Macaluso.
Yeah, I've been against a lot of the projects that have been proposed for that area. I'm not so much against the project that you have here. I like it. I think it's a good need for the city. I do have the concerns about Old Wiederstein Road. It's very narrow. I wish that we had some kind of illustration of what the ingress egress would be off of Old Wiederstein. Is that something that has been prepared or put together?
We do have a concept plan of what this might look like. Just keep in mind, this is a very preliminarily. What is on the bottom of the page is the thoroughfare, the secondary arterial from the city, and so there would be a connection there. I don't know if I can mark on this. So again, this would be a thoroughfare that's coming in, so there'd be a connection here, and then presumably a connection here that we just need to work with staff as far as driveway spacing goes. Yeah, and again, whether that's a fire access only or an actual ingress egress, we would work out with staff.
I guess, I mean, with a project like this, would there be inclusion of turn lanes or something that would prevent, people being backed up, waiting for a car to turn in or something along those lines? Because, I just, that road is just not in good shape for almost any increase in traffic, unfortunately. And so there needs to be some kind of a release of that pressure, at least at the entrance or something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Councilman. Obviously, we've heard from folks tonight. We've heard from folks in the past. We've talked about it as a council and as staff with regard to Old Wiederstein. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg, right? So one of the things to keep in mind is that on our master thoroughfare plan, Old Wiederstein is a secondary arterial, 90 feet of wide right-of-way, 2 12-foot travel lanes in each direction. So a 4-foot road, center median, and parkways as well. So part of the problem on Wiederstein, right, is it doesn't need to just be fixed up to take out the bumps. It doesn't just need to be widened. It needs to be reconstructed and improved to the full standard. And so a couple of the challenges we have, right? Part of the complaint is, well, we get development and we start getting more traffic, the road hasn't been fully improved. But as the developer mentioned, our subdivision ordinance has requirements for dedicating right-of-ways, dedicating easements that are needed as well with the platting of property. And then there are requirements to make improvements to the road network. Now, again, you've got some limitations on that with regard to rough proportionality, but the city also has a roadway impact fee, right? And so development that doesn't sort of build their fair share of road has to pay into that, and that can be used in that service area. So I get the frustration that, well, we're getting more development, we're getting traffic, but we also get portions of right-of-way dedicated, easements dedicated, road improvements made, and or impact fees dedicated that the city can then go in to use and make that improvement. And so that's just the challenge that we face in Texas with it. And so certainly what we would do is look at when the project comes in to determine whether or not a decel lane would be needed or not, and whether or not it's really warranted relative to the improvements that they would make, right? And so part of it that we try to balance here, and it's a similar situation to the apartment complex on 1518, when they came in, this question of, do they build a decel lane? Well, where is TxDOT with regard to making the improvements, and what improvements are being made to 1518? So all of that is a long-winded explanation to say, we don't know at this time whether or not they would be required to do a decel lane. We would determine that at time of platting and site plan to see what road improvements they're making, where the estimated traffic is coming in and out, and to what degree that delays it going forward. Is essentially the issue. And part of the challenge on this one that makes it a little bit of a challenge is, again, we'll likely get some improvements to a section of Wiederstein where the property is adjacent that you can see, but on either side of that, we'll have to do a transition and it'll neck back down. So my initial sitting up here is the biggest bottleneck issues are not going to be the turning movement into the property as much as it is those transitions back where they've made improvements on their side to where it doesn't occur. Again, part of what we'll try to do is look at some ability we've got to see if it makes sense to partner with them for the city to fund some additional improvements outside of their property on Wiederstein, that if they're going in and hiring a contractor to do things, we can tack on to some of that using roadway impact fee monies to make some of those improvements to mitigate those things going forward, and frankly, to avoid throwaway cost, right? We want it to be serviceable and usable till the road's improved, but we try to avoid those throwaway costs where we can help it. And sorry, that was a long-winded way of saying I can't tell you, but hopefully it paints a bit of a picture.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It is kind of one of those things where it seems like we have to be make the decision with, a lot of cloudiness with it. And, I don't feel comfortable doing that, especially in that situation with that road there.
Right.
So,
If I can make a point here, I understand where Councilmember Macaluso is coming from. But 3009 was also a two-lane road. We had Savannah, we had Woodlawn, and we had Doug Meadows that was under construction on the FM 3009 that was worse than Old Wiederstein is at this point. We also have 1518. We had Rhine Valley, the Crossvine, Halley's Cove, and Willow Grove. And that road is pretty bad itself, not as bad as 3009 was in those days. But you're right, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? At one point, that road will be fixed. But it's hard to determine exactly when. And this development is just part of the growth that we're seeing. And it has access to Old Wiederstein, but it has access to another road that will provide access to Ritz Kressler Road. And it is a very difficult decision to make at this point. But I think in this situation, we're looking at the zoning and the traffic. If it's a senior community, most of these seniors will be leaving during bingo time. From what from my experience of everyone that's over the age of 60, they adjust their schedules based on traffic. They don't have kids that are dropping off at school. They're not. Some of them may not be employed 55, maybe. They'll retire at 60, 65. But the impact is not as great as it would be if this was a whole apartment complex or housing development. The impact is not as great. But those are the things that will come with time also, is, like I said, fixing Old Wiederstein is a major project that will cost millions of dollars from 1103 all the way to Cibolo Valley Drive. And this is part of the growth that we're experiencing. But it took almost 10 years to get 1518 taken care of. I don't know how long it took FM 3009 because I got here in 91 and they started working in 94, but I'm sure there was that project was being discussed way before that time period. With that, I'll open it up to Councilmember Guerrero.
I know we have the traffic problem here because Old Wiederstein Road is always packed. What about the complex itself? Because you're saying it's going to be for seniors, correct? Is there like an office, point of contact, where these seniors can go to for assistance, for help, guidance, support?
Telehealth is basically where there are doctors that are remote. They can go on, they don't have to leave their community. They can go to the amenity center is within that, so they can essentially just walk to it and get their doctor's opinion on something if there is some sort of crisis that happens.
So is this 24/7 or just during duty hours, or?
It's usually by appointment. The doctors are remote, so just to schedule it. There's nobody on site for that, but that does allow, if somebody has an emergency, say, I would always recommend going to the hospital, but you can get a time slot for something like that at short notice.
But that's for medical, correct?
It is for medical.
But what about an office for other things that they may need?
Yes, that's part of the clubhouse, the amenity center. There will be an office in there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the concerns, but I do look at it from the basis that our community has grown so big so fast, we do need a variety of housing. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I think another dedicated 55 and up community would not be a disservice to the community and the public. We have our budget talks, and we worked on the roads. Some of them, folks complain a lot of time about the roads, and some of them we're hamstrung on. We can't control 3009. We can't control FM 78. We can't control FM 1518, but we found ways to push those through the pipeline in working with TxDOT. We're actively working on Lower Seguin Road. When you look at the rest of the roads in the community, I kind of think Old Weiderstein ought to be one of our priorities. If I'm not mistaken, it's about a 2-mile stretch. So I think that's something that, as we go through our budgeting process and our bonding process for roadway improvements, it is identified on our master thoroughfare plan. It's something we have to address, and I think we need to do it sooner rather than later. But I think another good thing about this is, as we look at the master thoroughfare plan, this includes the dedication of another section of road that will tie into Rips Chrysler. And Rips Chrysler went from dead ending for all intents and purposes at the Cibolo city line to now it comes from 3009 all the way up to Cibolo Valley Drive, now across Cibolo Valley Drive, and the development by Merritt and Company is now taking it up over the hill. This provides a significant piece now to ultimately make that connection in there, which will improve the traffic for everybody up in that northern area. So I just don't think it's a bad plan at all.
Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, I just needed some understanding. So the traffic, can you go back to the traffic document? What's the significance of 100 peak hour trips?
So 100 peak hour trips by code, the subdivision ordinance, is what triggers the need for a TIA.
Okay.
And so that's really a threshold of anything less than that is considered so insignificant it doesn't trigger a big study.
All right. And then, so how did you get to the peak hour trips 36? That's just based upon, like maybe the mayor said, the expected travel in and out?
So what you do is we use the International Transportation Code Book, the ITE book that the city has adopted as well. And so we're anticipating 144 dwelling units. And each one of those produces, you can kind of say that what's called the peak hour rate.
Okay.
And that's the 0.25. So you multiply that by how many units, and that's what you're getting the peak hour trips at. And again, that's just typically a home is roughly one. A normal single-family dwelling unit produces one peak hour trip because everybody's leaving their house early at that morning. Yep. And then coming home at that same time. But again, the seniors are a quarter of that just because that's not their lifestyle.
So you take the senior adult multifamily, there's a peak hour rate, 0.25, multiply that by 144, something to that effect, some type of.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then you get your 36, and it's way below 100. So.
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long is the platting process for the city of Schertz?
Well, I'll give you an answer, and then he'll give you an answer as he rolls his eyes probably. The question is, it varies, right? And so just to remind you our platting process. So initially they come in with the preliminary plat. That is approved at a staff level, and it really depends on sort of the complexity of the situation. Once that's approved, then that allows the developer to proceed essentially with doing the full civil drawings. And that involves a lot here because of the Weiderstein Road, because of the adjacent road as well. And once those have been approved by staff, they then turn in the final plat, that gets approved, and then they go to construction. If it's a fairly straightforward plat and you go pretty quick, you can get through the preliminary plat in probably 3 or 4 months. And then again, there's that lag time for the civil design on the private side, and then probably 3 or 4 months from there. But again, as staff would tell you, and Daisy mentioned earlier, And as this engineer and the applicant know, we recommend pre-development conferences. That's a good way to get those issues out of the way up front. And again, if there's not anything tricky on this, right, so they're not on an FM roadway, that helps, means TxDOT's not involved. We can move fairly quickly with it. But again, a lot of what that is are those pre-development meetings coming in for the plating process. But again, the plat doesn't get filed till they construct. And so I would say a typical project like this, you're a couple years out before seeing kind of buildings going up and people starting to move in, if they proceeded kind of directly from zoning to the plating site plan.
So if we're a couple of years out, according to the thoroughfare plan, how quickly or how far away is that?
So we've got, as Councilman Davis alluded to, so Wiederstein Road is one of the roads that's sort of a priority in this service area. It's one of the highest in that roadway impact fee service area. It is on our capital improvements program. Now, again, folks will say, well, is it next year? No, we've got a tentative date of 2028 to 2033. We estimated with the CIP that's on the website that this is a $17 million project. So again, have to provide the funding, have to do the full design of it, have to acquire right-of-way, and have to acquire easements. So again, let me be clear, and again, to address the points, you will likely see this project developed and traffic coming out of it before the other parts of Wiederstein are improved. And we'll have to kind of all live through that traffic as Wiederstein goes under construction. But as council knows, our problem is we have all of these needs we have to fund. And so on the one hand, it causes us to say, well, I'd rather this thing not happen because I don't have a plan for the road yet. But I will not, I would caution you not to underappreciate the literal cost to the city if we had to go out and acquire the right-of-way and acquire the easements, and if we didn't have that developer making the contribution of making improvements and or paying roadway impact fees, right? I mean, that's really how this thing happened. And again, I've said this to PNZ a lot. We love a lot of things about Texas, right? It's why we all live here. It's a great place. But one of the things is, in Texas, that infrastructure follows the development, which is why we're just now seeing 1518 go into construction, even though it's a TxDOT road. Again, we just don't have the funding the way it works in Texas to go out and preemptively build these grand boulevards before there's traffic. Traffic starts getting bad, moves up on the priority list. We take those fees that are paid. We take the little kind of checkerboard pattern that developers contribute, and that's how the road gets improved. So I would argue if this project didn't move forward and we were sitting here a year and a half from now, we would have folks saying traffic has gotten worse, and it has because we have all of that background traffic, and yet we're no further along to making those improvements or getting those right-of-ways or getting those easements. Again, we tend to look long-term. Staff would say the reason on our thoroughfare plan we have that arterial, the 4 lanes, is to accommodate the growth and demand that's coming, whether we like it or not. Again, you heard the gentleman with the appraisal district talk about the growth corridor in, so it's coming. We're going to have these challenges. Again, we try to find the approach where we work with the developers to help benefit our current residents by getting as much improvements as we can with the development to try to overcome those issues. But again, it's going to be a mess till it gets improved.
All right. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. And I agree with Councilman Davis that, you know, it's up to us to make these things the priorities and to put them in perspective there and prioritize and fund as required. And again, I think we all agree that Wiederstein has been a priority road for some time, and as it develops, it becomes more and more of a priority. So,
Councilmember Guerrero.
Yes, I also agree. Old Wiederstein Road, it has to be a priority because there's traffic there, and if we're going to develop something like this, it's just going to make it worse. So Old Wiederstein Road must be a priority. Now, here's another off-the-wall question. What about making an exit going towards the interstate?
So again, I don't know if the developer or staff have in a graphic, but just as you recall, he has frontage on Wiederstein, and then he has frontage on a road that runs north-south, north being towards 35, right? So our thoroughfare plan has another road right, that will get you to 35 eventually. They will build a section of it, and then it'll continue on. Again, as Councilman Davis mentioned, you have Rips Chrysler, that the plan is from another property owner, and that council's already approved an agreement with the school district to make that extension. So again, this starts to fill in that network so that eventually, as we look at our city, what we've got is we will have that network of roads to get you to the 35 that's not driving down Denot Hill Road. And if Sam can bring it up. Thank you, Sam.
So there's a master thoroughfare plan route that goes north-south like this through the property. And then this Rips Chrysler is also on the thoroughfare plan route to go across as well. So you can kind of see how all these are kind of be connected at some point.
And they would be able to exit through there.
That's right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
I think we've had a great conversation on roads and transportation, but I think the proposal here tonight is on zoning. And I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance, 25S27?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilmember Brown and second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Council, any other comments? Please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. All right, we have another public hearing. Item number 9, ordinance number 25S029. Conduct a public hearing and consider a request to rezone approximately 173 acres of land from agricultural district AD and single-family residential / agricultural district R-A to single-family residential district R1, single-family residential district R2, and single-family residential district R6, also known as Bexar County Property Identification Numbers 310012, 309425, 309427, located 1,000 feet 1,000 feet west of Cibolo Creek on Lower Seguin Road, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas. Mr. House, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Mr. James again. This is ordinance 25S029, Samuel Haas, Senior Planner. Just to get our bearings here. The property is outlined in green. This is Lower Seguin Road adjacent to the south. This is this Cibolo Creek right here running along the property. Saddlebrook subdivision and Rhine Valley are further to the west. As the mayor mentioned, it is 173 acres that they are proposing for the zone change. Right now is just a rural residence and a lot of undeveloped land. So the applicant is proposing to rezone 3 separate tracts, a 95-acre tract to R1, a 51-acre tract R2, and then a 27-acre tract R6. The purpose is to rezone this into a single-family subdivision with a mixture of housing and lot types. On May 23rd, 2025, a total of 8 public hearing notices were sent out. We've received 1 in favor and 1 sign was posted on the property. Here is a exhibit showing the zone change. You'll see that it's all agricultural land right now with a little bit of RA up the front, and then how they're proposing to split the tracts up with the zoning. Just a little refresher on the dimensional and design requirements for these 3 zoning districts. You'll see that they're fairly similar, except the width size gets smaller. R1 is 80, R2 is 70, and R6 is 60. They're all 120 foot in depth. So again, when we're looking at zone changes, we look at UDC section 2154D criteria for approval. Number 1, whether the proposed zone change implements the policies of the adopted comprehensive land plan or any other applicable adopted plans. The comprehensive plan designates this area as complete neighborhood, which is intended for a mixture of residential uses along with some neighborhood commercial. The multiple single family residential types does fit that mixture of residential lot sizes, so this does conform to the comprehensive land plan. Number two, whether the proposed zone change promotes health, safety, and general welfare of the city. So again, as part of promoting the health, safety, and general welfare, we encourage development that's compatible with surrounding uses. Lower Seguin Road is developing into a single-family neighborhood. There's Rhine Valley, there's Carmel Ranch, there's Saddlebrook. All those have several different lot sizes. Monterey Meadows, which was approved as 24S148 last year, is right across the street, and that is approximately 174. Here's sort of a graphic representation of that. So everything you see here on the screen, these are all single-family subdivisions. So definitely compatible with the surrounding uses. So a traffic analysis was conducted on this. It does reach that peak hour threshold. Some of the improvements that they will potentially have to do to Lower Seguin Road is a right turn deceleration lane and a left turn entrance at the proposed development. A lot of those details will be buttoned down at the platting phase. Number three, whether uses permitted by the proposed zone change will be consistent and appropriate with existing uses in the immediate area. Again, as I mentioned, a lot of the immediate area is being developed as a single-family subdivision. The uses in this proposed zone change matches what's occurring in the area. And number four, whether other factors are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the amendment. Schertz Fire, EMS, and Police have been notified of the zone change and have provided no objection. SCUC ISD has also been notified of the zone change request. And the scheduled public hearing provides the opportunity to introduce any additional considerations. Staff is recommending approval due to the conformance with the comprehensive land plan and the consistency with the surrounding land uses. Staff is recommending approval of 25S029. The City Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on June 4th, 2025 and made a recommendation of approval with a 7-0 vote.
All right, thank you, Mr. Haas. All right, is the applicant here? Would he like to address the council?
Good evening, Paul Landa with MTR Engineers, here on behalf of the developer. Just to reiterate, we are proposing a single-family residential development with multiple lot sizes, 60s, 70s, 80s. We have, I guess, in this project specifically, been requested to actually make the 80-foot lots a little bit larger. So that will be incorporated into our land plan, and so we would exceed the min zoning requirements on the R1 zoning. So here to answer any questions that y'all may have.
Great, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing and the time is 8:02. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the City Council in reference to this subject? Going once, going twice. All right, the time is 8:03. Public hearing is closed. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Oh, sorry.
You did that too, and I don't know why my phone did it a minute ago.
Well, that clock's not working, so I have to use my iPad. So I'm sorry for that interruption there. Yeah. Councilmember Macaluso.
No, I just wanted to, I support, projects that provide that difference in the, between the R1 and the R and the 5. I like the changes. I like the, it's not the, it's bringing some variety that, I haven't seen in a lot of projects recently. So I'm happy to see that this is being proposed.
Council, any other comments? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 25S029?
So move.
A second.
I have a motion made by Councilmember Watson, second by Councilmember Macaluso. Council, any other comments? Please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. All right. We'll move on to item number 10 is monthly updates, major projects in progress, CPI. Item number 11 is the quarterly update, City Council approved zoning and specific use permit ordinance in relationship to current development status. These are information packets that were provided to council and available for public viewing at our website, schertz.com. With that, council, any possible updates or information requested from staff? Seeing none, council, any possible items you'd like to place on the future agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Hayward?
Yes, I'd like to, first to consider placing on the agenda the American Flood Coalition to be members. It is free to the cities. I am a single member, and it's helping with resolutions and, I don't mean resolutions, it's helping with funding and pushing funding, and they've already started working with some of our state reps to try and push funding for the state of Texas as well as Indiana, and I think it would be a good idea to help, because they help try to work with getting funding and mitigating flooding. And the other one is CAB-T, which is the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks. I'd just like to see if council, it's not a membership or anything, but do a resolution stating that we will support this because it is ramping up. I have been working with them, and it is at the federal level for the Department of Transportation, and there are a lot of these companies that are pushing to have larger trucks and heavier trucks on our roadways. And looking at some of the data that's coming out, I'd like to know if we possibly discuss putting a resolution saying we can support CAB-T, and when they need us to make phone calls or send an email, we'd be willing to.
Okay. I'll have our city manager get with you so that we can get more details and put it on the agenda. Okay? Council, any other items you'd like to place on the agenda? All right, announcements by our council members. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward.
Yes, I did my TML board meeting. When you're the president, you get to have it in your city. Our city was closed, so I got to have it at Blue Bonnet. So I just want to say thank Blue Bonnet for accommodating us, and I want to thank the city staff for all the things that they did to help accommodate and make my board meeting a success. Also, I wanted to let everybody know, if you didn't know, we have a Riverway cheese factory, and we took a tour, and it was fantastic. So they make cheese in our area. You can online order. It's a great place, and so that was a lot of fun. I did the Animal Advisory Committee, and they keep doing a fantastic job, and now they have an actual training room, so it's a great place. And if you haven't been down there, go down there. They'd love to show you around and brag about what they're doing. The TML legislative update. Good news is there weren't a whole lot of bills that's going to affect us in a bad way, but we now have a special session coming up, and we hope that nothing for cities will be added to that. And that's all, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Davis.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Councilmember Watson.
Nothing at this time.
Councilmember Macaluso.
Nothing.
Councilmember Guerrero.
Yes, just want to make a comment on the flags along Schertz Parkway. They look excellent. It shows patriotism from the city of Schertz, from the residents of Schertz. Awesome. Thank you.
Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, Mayor, we did the Northeast Partnership Mixer at Schertz Creek Winery, Beer Garden. I think it's called Beer Garden. Had the opportunity to go see a mariachi concert at Steele High School. Then I followed it up with placing flags on Monday morning or yesterday morning with the San Antonio Young Marine Detachment.
Councilmember Brown.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. The time is now 8:08. We stand adjourned.